Here we go. Cicero, 20th of October 2022. Chapter 34. Esne. So it's a question. Is this? Hoc. Again, this in the neuter. Illi. That can be an adverb or it can be a pronoun. Dicto and facto fimbriano similumum? Question mark. So, is not this most similar to the dicto and facto, to the words and deeds fimbro in apposition, which could be this illi? So it's a question. Accusatus sextus roscium. This is a you plural. You accuse sextus roscium. Quid ita. This is one of the cases where quid means why. It means why thus, why so. Quia de menimus vestris, because from your hands. Quia because, say himself, ocidi passus non est. Because he hasn't passus, because he hasn't allowed or endured, say himself to be killed. He's obviously gone day from their hands. He's escaped. Illud. This, and we have a little clause. Quia in scavolum factum est, because it is done in scavola, in scavola's case. Videtur, it seems, more indignum. More indignant, or disgusting, or whatever. Hoc, again with this hoc, and this, because fit a chrysogenes, because it happens from chrysogenes, or because it was done by chrysogenes. Non est forendum. This periphrastic, so this should not be endured or suffered. Nam, for, per deos immortales, that's a very short sentence. This means by the immortal gods. And this nam doesn't really do much. Quid est in hac causa? What is there in this case? Actually, we might take that nam. For what is there in this case? Quod, which, indigiat, it's the second conjugation, subjunctive, and defensionis is a genitive. So this is what is there in this case, which is lacking in it. Indigiat, actually, it's means you haven't got there. So you haven't got a defense. Okay. Qui, which locus or place, requirit, requires the ingenium patrone. So what place is that requires the ingenium, which is the characteristic or talent of a patron, of the lawyer, or the eloquentia, the eloquence of an orator, that's a genitive. Desiderat. Okay, this is a verb again ending the sentence. Magna operae, ablative, it means is a great work, basically, is what it literally translates. And desiderat, it's again like necessitas, what is necessary. So we've got what is it needed there a defense, in which place requires a really talented lawyer or an eloquent orator. Desiderat means there's a longing for or a desiring for a great work towards this. Moving on. Totem causam, the whole cause or the whole case. Judges are the nominative vocative situation, and totem causes the whole cause. We shall explicamus, which basically literally means we shall unwrap or unfold. We shall explain it. And anti-oculus, anti is the preposition, oculus is the plural accusative. Etiam, is that etiam? I just spelt wrong. We shall consider this before your eyes, even if that's etiam. So the whole case, gentlemen, we will unroll and we will consider it or weigh it up before your eyes. Okay, so this is actually in the lobe. It says expositam. Expositam. Okay, so we'll unroll this and we'll lay it out before your eyes for consideration. Ita facsimile, thus most easily, the res quae, this matter which is contained in this totum judicum, this whole trial basically, and quibus de rebus, and the things in which, that's a relative pronoun, concerning the whole matter, oporte, what we ought to decorate, to say, concerning this matter, de rebus, and quid, and what, vos, you, contrasting with the nos, which is us, vos, which is you, conveniat. So, and what you shall, when you come to this, you should follow, sequis, to follow, and intelligus, you will understand. So, this whole case be unfolded before your eyes and put out to consider, and thus easily what will be contained in the whole trial, intellegitis, you shall understand, and what you opportune, what ought to be spoken in this matter, and how you should follow it up and judge it. Tres sunt res. There are three matters, we'll say. Quantum ego existimare possum. Possum's taking the infinitive. So, of how much I am able to think up. So, quantum is the amount, and there's three of them is the amount. So, I'm able to think up these three things. Quae, which obstem, hoc tempore, at this time, which are blocking. Obstens, basically, obsto. So, it's blocking two sextus roscius. In this time, there are three things that I've thought of, which are this hindrance or blockage of sextus roscius, the crimen, which is the accusation, adversatorium, which is genitive, so the accusations of his adversaries, and the audarkia and potentia. This would be going to with these adversaries, this is their boldness and their potentia, their power, their grip on power. Criminis, nominative, what do you call it? Genitive. Confictionem accusa Eurychius suscepit. So this is a double nominative here, the accusator Eurychus in that position. So the accusator Eurychus has suscepit. He has taken up this fiction, this conviction of a crime or of accusations. The audacia partis Rosci sibi poscurunt. So the most boldest parts, of the Roscius, the Roscius have demanded for themselves. So we've covered two parts so far. And Chrysogenius, however, or moreover, he who potest plurumum, who is able to influence the most, who has the most plurumum power, he is pugnat, he's fighting with potentia, with his power. So these are the three blockages. This accuser has created the fiction of the crime, the bold part, the Roscius have demanded for themselves, and Chrysogenus has the most power and influence, he's fighting it with his power. De hisce omnibus rebus. Okay, so these all come from the day. Concerning all of these, hisces these, rebus these matters or circumstances, me, that's himself, I understand, intellego, I understand that me opportore dicere, that I ought to speak, I will be the one giving this defence. Quid igitur est. So what then? What is the next thing then in order, you might want to say? 36. Non eodem modo de omnius. Not in the same way, eodem is a demonstrative prayer. So not only in the same way concerning omnibus, concerning all things. Ideo, for this reason, quod that, prima, the first, illa res ad meum officium pertinent. So this first matter is pertinent, res is the matter, the first matter is pertinent to my officium, my duty. And the duas or tem reliquas are the two remaining, however, or moreover, they are imposited, they are imposed upon vobis, you, populus Romanus. Ego crimen opportet diluem. I, this accusation, opportet. I ought to diluem, which is subjunctive or future. This means he needs to purge this accusation or clean it away. Vobis, at and you, resistere, taking the dative, and you should stand against this boldness, and hominum eus modo, these are genitives, of this type of man, perniciem and intolerandam, it looks like a gerundive, their potentia, primo quoque tempore, quoque means, also promo tempore means in the first time, also debitus is the main verb, euorta, plural, extinguish, and opprimere, which is to crush. At the first chance you get, the first time you can, you need to extinguish and crush the potentium, the power of this type of man, pernicious and intolerable. Occidus patrem sextus roscius arguita. It is argued, sextus roscius and nominative, to have killed, it's argues a head verb, so it's taking the infinitive. He has killed his patrem, his father. Scalestum, it usually means a scoundrel, but I think it's a bit stronger here. De immortales, so immortal gods. This crime and nefarious, facinus, this is a nefarious crime or deed. So, and eus modo, and in this type, quo uno malefico scalera, omnia complex esse videntur. Which by this one maleficence, which is this one evil-bearing sclera, crime, it seems to embrace complexos, embrace omnia, everything. So if you want to go that, so immortal gods, this scandalous, you might even say, and nefarious crime, and of these type of deeds in which one maleficent crime itself seems to embrace all these other types of crimes. Etonym, again, that's just for and et. For also, see if, id quod, this which, praeclare, which seems to be famous, dictu, this thing which is said famously by sapientibus, by the wise, Voltus sapi laeditor pites. So often sapi, piety, is laeditor, or injured or struck. Voltu is your appearance or your bearing, by your look. Quod supplicum, which punishment, satis, is enough. Acri goes with supplim, which bitter punishment, repetitor, can be found satisfactorily in him, towards him, qui who, mortem, death and the accused, has obtulated, which basically means who has offered mortem, who has offered death to a parent, dative. So, when the philosophers have said, that's another interpretation of the wise people, piety can be provoked or injured just by a look, then what is a sufficient harsh punishment to be found for him who has killed his father or parent? Pro quo mori ipsum. For quo, it'd be ablative, for who himself must be killed. There's some reason that's in the infinitive. If the res postulates, if the matter or circumstance as demanded, himself should be killed. Okay, jura is the laws, divine and humana, cogabant, these are forcing. So if the matter demands this, he himself is forced by the divine and human laws that he himself should be killed. If it's true he's killed his father. 38. In hoc tanto and tam. Tam is so atrocious here, so and so much and so atrocious. Tanto, we can just ignore that. And tam, so singulare maleficis. So it's so atrocious, so singularly evil. Quid, which existo, which happens, basically you could say raro, so rarely, ita ut. They're the correlatives, they go together. That if, quando, whenever, sit order, whenever this is heard of, portenda and prodigy simile numerata. This is counted similar to a portend and prodigy. Prodigies are monstrous happenings. So this is like a portent and a prodigy are similar. Quibus tantum. This is a question, so tantum just means just. Just what do you to see you Trishi? This looks genitive. Okay, senses. So what do you think ought to be used? Utu is the deponent infinitive. What is this accusation? Which arguments will you be using? So if you want to put that all together. So in this, which is so much and so atrocious and so singularly evil, which happens so rarely that whenever it's heard, this is counted as something similar to monstrousness and portends. Just what arguments do you think you should use as an accuser? And again, that looks genitive. Nonne is a question. Means surely, et also his audacium. Surely ought to show his boldness. Him whom you are calling into this crime, who you are accusing of, you are calling into this accusation, you are giving him this accusation. To show singularum, his singularity, his specialness, and his mores feros, and his wild customs, basically. Feros is just wild. So, qui again, immanem qui naturem, and his monstrous nature, you might want to say, and his vitam, which is his life, with vices and disgraces, vitus flagitus qui, deditem, he's given over, his nature is given over, omnibus, to all of these vices and disgraces, and deniqui, finally, omnia, everything, to perniciam profligata atqui perdita. Perniciousness is destructions and profligations and perdita. Yeah. It's not that hard. Have we done a daily dictionary? So I've made perdita set up here. It's actually an adjective. Bankrupt, financially removed, broken, lost, done for, or ruined. So you get the point. Okay, so this is destruction, profligateness, and bankruptcy or quorum, of which, to you, nothing in sextus roscium. None of these things have you brought towards sextus roscium. Ne obiciendi quidem, so ne quidem, not even causa for the sake of obiciendi. Casting these upon him, or these accusations, contulisti, have you brought these to bear on him. So none of which of these accusations are not even for the sake of throwing them at him have you presented such things. 39. Patrem occidit sextus roscius. Sextus roscius killed his father. Statement. Qui homo, what type of man? It would be quis homo if you say who is the man. Qui homo means what type of man. And he's answering himself, an adolescentulus, a diminutive corruptus. A young adult who was corrupt, a corrupted young man, and ab hominibus nequem, I think nequem doesn't decline, so from worthless man he is inductus, again corruptus and inductus, past passive, so he's a very young man who's been corrupted and he's been inducted, led astray by a worthless man, so he's answered his own question. Enos natus major quadragenta, so he's born more than 40 years, so he's more than 40 years of age, so this rules out him being a corrupt adolescent who was being led astray. What have we got? A vetus videlicet. So videlicet's adverb means obviously. A vetus sicaris. Sicaris is someone who kills with daggers. So he's obviously an old murderer, a homo audax, a bold man or a brave man. And sapi, often he's visutus, or he's engaged in or has lived in slaughters. He knows how to kill people. But, a very strong but. Hoc, this, ab accusator, from the accuser, ne quidem, not even, audistis, plural, you have not heard this, dici, being spoken. Again, it takes the passive infinitive. What do we got? Luxuries, igitor, therefore then. Luxuries, homonym, man, singular, accusative. Animirum, so another obviously word. So obviously, therefore, there's luxuries with this man, and a magnitude, eris alien, and the great size of his debt. Eris alien, this basically means bronze of another, which is the debt. And indomite enemi cupides, and an indomitable desires or lusts of his mind or heart. Ad hoc scalus, to this crime, again it's neuter, have impulloranted. So, igitor, therefore, luxuries have impulsed or driven this homonym, obviously, and the size of his debts and his insatiable lusts have driven him to this crime. De luxurious, concerning luxuries, purgavided Euricius. So Euricius is the nominative. He has cleared him of these luxurious charges when dixit, when he has said, hunc, him, sextus roscius, ne quidem, was not even in convivio, so he was not even in parties or banquets, although any in feres almost ever. So he was not even almost ever in any parties. Into fuisis, from into some means being he was present, he was at hand. So he was, the guy accusing him himself has cleared him of any charge of luxurious living, saying he was barely ever in any banquets or feasts. Nearly done. Nihil autem umquam debuit. So, moreover, umquam ever, nothing ever did he debuit, did he owe. So, moreover, he never ever owed anything. Cupidates, these are luxuries and desires in the plural. Poro. Furthermore, the adverb. Furthermore, the desires, quae possunt, which they're able to be in eo, which are able to be in him who, as ipsi accusa, as he himself, the accuser, objects, he semper always habitated ruroi locet. He always was living or habitating in the countryside. So how are these, furthermore, how are these luxuries able to be possible in him who, as the accuser has said, he's always lived in the countryside, and he vixerated, and he lived in agro colendo, in agriculture, cultivating fields. Quae vita, which life, maxime especially, is disjuncta. It was disjointed from cupidates, from desires. That's just the ablative from that preposition. And cum, this is going to take the ablative because it's a preposition too, which is joined to duty, officio. So his life is especially disjointed from luxuries and desires, and it is conjuncted, it is joined with duty.